Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our product update event on full-time hiring on Upwork. Please note that this event is being recorded and will be available to review in the coming days. I'm going to drop this link in the chat right now. Feel free to bookmark that site, not just this event, but other events that are upcoming and other events we've done that are fantastic. Check it out. You'll love it. Now, for those that don't know, my name is Will Simpson, and I am an event manager here at Upwork. And today we're joined by Matt Ventrella, a senior product marketing manager with Upwork. He's going to be walking us through this important product update. Good to have you, Matt.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, Will. Yeah, sorry, a little lag there. But yeah, excited to be here and spend some time talking with you all about this great new experience on Upwork.
Fantastic. So today we're going to be discussing a few different things. We're going to look at what exactly is this full-time product update and why and how it came to be. We're going to look at how we can engage with this feature and express interest to clients posting contract to hire positions on the platform. And what does this mean for professionals not looking to engage in the full-time options? So before we dive in, I wanted to take a moment to pause and highlight this new direction for Upwork. We are focused on building an experience that works for everyone, no matter if you're a freelancer or a full-time employee. We want to provide you with the flexibility to work in the ways that work for you, all the while being compliant with local labor laws. Now, with full-time, you can work with any company pretty much anywhere in the world at virtually any time. Now, since I first encountered Upwork as a client originally, back on the platform in 2016, to then becoming a full-time freelance graphic designer on Upwork, to today, where I get to share awesome product updates and educational content with our fantastic community. That's you guys. I have witnessed Upwork continually evolving to meet the changing landscape of work, enabling talented professionals around the globe to connect with amazing clients and engaging projects, regardless of their location. Matt, I'm really excited for you to share with us this new product update and what it entails.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm really excited to share it as well. So before, we really get in, I want to focus on the core why. Why did we launch this updated experience? And really, as everyone on this session knows, traditional full-time hiring is outdated, right? It's a leap of faith filled with unknowns. You find a role, you interview, and then hope that the company is as good as they say it is in the interview process. And then you start onboarding. And at that point, you can understand like, hey, is this actually a good fit for me? If it's not a good fit, you probably won't know about until about a week or two in, which is an opportunity cost for other roles that you could have taken. Plus you're dealing with a role that, you don't love, right? You're kind of stuck. So to avoid this leap of faith, we created the full-time experience to support you with finding the right company. Within the experience, you get to trial working with clients to understand if they're a good fit, and then move to a full-time engagement if that is what you're looking for. Really what this experience is about is giving you the options to own your experience on Upwork, really giving you the confidence to build stronger relationships with clients and remove unknowns in a more controlled environment. So in terms of what we've actually launched, we have now made full-time hiring accessible across all of Upwork, allowing all Upwork talent to leverage this new type of hiring. Full-time hiring also means that clients of all sizes can now compliantly hire across 165 countries worldwide. There's also no restriction on the job skills, which means that jobs in every single category today on Upwork are eligible to go full-time. The updated experience itself is quite simple. While we made some substantial changes to the product on the back end in terms of how we support these various types of work engagements, on the front end, there's really been some modifications to job posts, filtering profiles, and the launch of 2 new products, all of which we'll dig into just in a moment.
Nice. And I see some great questions in the general chat here. And a lot of those questions I'm going to wait to answer because we're going to be digging into those. So stay tuned. Matt, you shared this client quote with me earlier, and I really thought it highlighted one of the many scenarios in which this full-time update can support our talent community to succeed on Upwork. There have been people that have worked with us in contractors in one role, and it's a job that normally never would have been a full-time position. but because we're able to gain experience with them under a freelancing contract, we were able to identify additional skill sets that they have and match those with full-time opportunities within the company. So we've been able to convert those people into roles that are really integral to our business. And this to me really highlights the flexibility and amazingness of this sort of program. I've had plenty of experiences where I started a job with a client and it was, hey, we need you for 2 hours of work to do a little tweak on a graphic project. And that ends up being 4 years later, almost a full-time engagement with that client. And I think so many of us can relate to that. Oftentimes these projects start out as something small. So hopefully this captures that for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Matt, so Matt, is this full-time update a completely new program? I recall some similar programs which touched on this topic in some 2022 updates. Can you speak to what those programs are and what is new about the full-time feature?
Yeah, so the full-time functionality has previously existed on Upwork. Previously, it was exclusively for enterprise accounts. This latest launch is geared towards making those functions available for all clients on Upwork and all talent. These updates have also improved the enterprise experience as well. Within this launch, we released 2 products, Contract to Hire and Any Hire. Both technically went live back in late October, and we've been scaling these products to understand how professionals, you all, and clients use them to understand that as well as demand that the products receive. Both of these products are really integral to bringing full-time to life. And what we've done is we've really combined them to tell this like larger full-time story. Really what it does is it unifies, everything together to make full-time hiring a possibility on Upwork. In terms of the specifics for each of the products, you have Contract to Hire, which allows professionals to signal their interest in contract to hire roles via their profile, then allowing clients to reach out directly. Clients can also post jobs on the talent marketplace that specifically indicate that they're looking for people such as yourselves, open to contract to hire roles. Once the match is made, then the clients and yourselves can trial working together for a short-term period before making a mutual decision to either go full-time or go separate ways. Any hire then comes in at the end of the contract to hire experience. If a client is interested in using Upwork's payroll or employer of record tools, they can use Any Hire to support them with hiring yourself or any other professional. Any Hire allows companies to compliantly hire in over 165 countries around the world, and also supports them when it comes to onboarding and things like payments and contract compliance. If the client is an enterprise level client, they would also use the enterprise payroll, which offers similar services, but is more purpose built specifically for enterprise level businesses. And then I just wanted to call out, like after releasing these products and testing demand, we've seen a tremendous amount of demand, which is awesome. We've recorded over 40,000 contract to hire jobs in the marketplace from January 1st to about the middle of February. We're really happy to see this demand and believe that there are now even more possibilities for really interesting roles across the entire Upwork marketplace, right? So we want to, again, put out as many interesting roles and unique ways that y'all can leverage utilizing Upwork to find really interesting work.
Definitely, because no one works the same way, and it's that flexibility I think draws a lot of us. Now, it looks like even with the rather recent capabilities for clients to offer full-time engagement to Upwork independent professionals, there seems to be an immense amount of interest, judging by this figure. That's great to see.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things I always really enjoy about being a freelancer on the platform is just that job feed that never stops cycling. There's always new jobs showing up and different size jobs, so I can squeeze them in between different projects or take on larger roles. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at how we can opt into these types of positions on the platform itself. So to start off with the basics, how can we see these full-time postings and how do we let clients know that we're open to these types of roles?
Yeah, so it doesn't look, okay, here we go. So we've really made it as straightforward as possible to find these postings and to show your interest in these types of roles. So really to show your interest, we recommend that you update your profile preferences to showcase that you're open to contract to hire opportunities. You can access these settings by visiting your logged in homepage. And then on the right-hand side panel, there is a little area there called job preferences. You would click on that. It would open up, and then it would say, are you open to contract to hire opportunities? You'd select yes, and then that's all it is. And then you're outwardly signaling that you're open to contract to hire opportunities. Then in terms of how you find these roles, that's on the right-hand side of this page. It's as simple as visiting the marketplace job feed via your home, and then updating your filter preferences on the right-hand side of the screen, clicking job preference, if you're searching on the marketplace, you'll use the filters on the left-hand side all the way down at the very bottom and select the checkbox that says contract to hire filter. Alternatively, if you're looking at the more kind of personalized search or job filter feed in your home, it'll be on the right-hand side. And again, they'll say something that says job preferences, and then you can select contract to hire. So essentially you have two different options. You can either, signal on your profile, have clients reach out to you, or you can look through the actual marketplace job feed and then filter based on contract to hire roles and find them. In addition to that, the contract to hire roles are actually just generally populated inside of the marketplace job feed without even having any filtering on. So you can see these roles and select through them and check them out.
Cool. So when we enable the option to show clients that we're open to invites for these full-time opportunities, will those invites alert us to that fact when we receive them, or will it be part of the discovery call that we have to ask them, is this a full-time engagement opportunity?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the situation. Typically, when a client will message you, you'll be able to see the job post that they're messaging about, and on that job post, we make it very clear that it is a contract to hire or a freelance role. So we've made really, really clear tags showing which kind of posting is which. If they're just reaching out to you, just generally speaking, unfortunately, you'll have to have a conversation with them to understand if it's a contract to hire opportunity or not. But again, that's because there isn't a job post there.
Got it. Now, there's a couple of questions coming up from the audience here circling around the same topic. So I wanted to just touch on it because I think it's an important one.
Yeah.
If
sure.
I am engaging with a prospective client or an active client with a contract with a client, and it's one of these full-time contract to hire sort of positions, does that prevent me from taking other work on the platform while I'm in that process?
Absolutely not. No. So again, this goes back to that whole concept of flexibility. You can, and it's actually really funny. I meant to bring this up earlier. When you're in the trial phase, think of it as like a short-term contract, right? As if it was any kind of short-term contract, just generally, as you were a user on Upwork. So there isn't any kind of exclusivity element to it. You can trial multiple clients at once. You can have a couple different trial periods going on with a couple different clients, feeling out the relationship with them, making the best decision for you, in addition to also being able to, have an IC relationship with other clients. That is totally fine. We're not restricting you in any way. When it comes time, say, you trial working with a client, you really like working with them, you decide to move to full-time with them, then it turns into kind of more of a conversation between yourself and the client, whether or not they're okay with you still, doing kind of freelance work on the side or not. But we don't get involved in that relationship once you've gone full-time with that client.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. And on that topic, once we've identified a client or have been identified by a client as a potential fit for full-time engagement, what does that process look like? Is this different than usual?
No. So, first, congrats on the client. That's awesome. But in terms of the experience, it's almost identical, right? So it's nearly the same as if you're working on a freelance, oriented job. You would interview the client, agree to terms, including how long the trial period would run, and then begin the short-term contract with them. I think the big caveat to all of this is that it is a trial experience, right? So you're there to assess the client, and understand what it would be like to work with them and the company for the long haul, right? So you're thinking about all of these different factors in terms of, is this something that I would want to do for a long-term period of time? The other thing that's really important to remember too is that this trial period is a paid trial. So you would charge your normal rate and go through this experience. There's no reason to discount or anything like that. Like, you are going to get compensated for the time that you put into this. And then, yeah, you'll work until the contract has reached its limit. And then at the end, you'll make a decision. If you choose to move to a full-time relationship with a client, you'll confirm, with your client on that mutual decision. And then they will start the contract conversion process. In that process, you'll be updated on the status of the conversion from us, from Upwork. You'll get notifications as the client completes each step. And then at this stage, the client will also pay a conversion fee to progress with your relationship. This is a client-specific fee and you should not be paying any fees, right? There's no talent fees in any of this process. It is entirely on the client, to work through that. Once the conversion is completed and you've been notified, the client will then decide which payroll system works for them. It could either be us with Upwork, utilizing AnyHire or Upwork Payroll, or if they have a third-party system, they would then be responsible for onboarding you and getting you up to speed as a full-time employee, setting you up with payments and a new contract and everything else. On the flip side, if you go through that trial experience and you don't want to move forward with the relationship, you can decline and then carry on. Again, there are no fees for you to pay in any of this experience.
Now, just to clarify on that, the contract before the hiring portion of it, that contract, would we be subject to the typical fees on a contract?
Yes. Sorry. So you would be subject to the typical fees on the short-term contract. I'm specifically referring to the conversion process. There should be no payment in the conversion process coming from ourselves, from talent. The client pays a conversion fee to move you off of Upwork into a full-time relationship.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. Now, a question which comes to mind with this surge of interest and availability for professionals to engage in full-time employment with clients on Upwork. If, as an independent professional, I'm not looking for full-time engagement, will this feature prevent me from getting project-based work?
Yeah. So I want to make sure this point is extremely clear, because I definitely understand the unease, right? Especially when, a major experience has launched. These changes will have absolutely no impact on those not looking for full-time work. This launch is about providing you and the rest of the talent community with the most amount of flexibility and work options as possible. If we go to the next slide.
Yep.
It's all about providing more ways to find clients and to work in ways that work for you, right? So freelance work is still a major focus of Upwork, and it makes up majority of our work or of our marketplace. But we want to remove any barriers to capturing the best possible opportunities for you. We're always, looking to improve the Upwork experience. And with this offering and multiple other solutions, we can now offer various types of ways that, work can get done. We're constantly innovating, as Will was saying earlier, and we're looking for ways to expand our offerings to meet you where you are. All that said, we have seen some really encouraging statistics for how professionals are looking at it. We have over 2 million professionals who, are open and interested in these types of roles. And I think it's a nice kind of evolution without, losing kind of our grounding in freelance work, right? Again, we really want to focus on this breadth of service. We want to be able to offer any kinds of work that works for you, and ensure that everyone on this call, every single person in our talent community has the opportunity to work in the jobs and work in the roles that they want to work in.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Now, I'm going to transition to Q&A. We've got some time to dig into that. There's a lot of good questions I've seen, but I just wanted to do a quick plug here. When we wrap up with Q&A and we close up this event in a little bit here, you will see in your email a survey from us on this event. Your feedback, taking a couple minutes, is just as important as the clients giving you feedback on the projects you do on Upwork. It really helps me figure out what do we need to train on? What information can I bring to the community to help your success? So if you give me 2 minutes, it'll come back to you in spades, in a good way. So let's dive into some of these questions. So there's a lot of questions around the fee for full-time jobs. And from what Matt was telling us earlier, the only fees associated as it relates to getting that contract to hire is on the client side when they opt to hire you. When they say, Will, I'd like to engage you in a full-time sort of agreement, they would pay the fees. I would not pay the fees. The only caveat to that, correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt, is if in the contract leading up to it, the trial period, if you will, where I'm doing maybe hourly or fixed price, that would be the usual fees. But as soon as they say, Will, I want to hire you, only the client pays that fee.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect.
Yes.
And good follow-up question there. What is the length of that trial time? Is it a standard, has to be 6 months, or can the client set it to be what they want?
The client can set it to be what they want. So we encourage you to have a conversation with the client in terms of what that trial period looks like, but it's adjustable, right? It can be a week, it could be a month, it could be 6 months, whatever that time frame is in terms of being able to kind of get a proper feel for working with one another. But yeah, we encourage you to have that conversation with them.
Got it. Now, there are a few questions here related to visibility of reviews. So from one angle, there was a good question. If I'm looking for those contract to hire full-time engagements, and so is the client, will they still be able to see my project-based review feedback? Like if I just did, fixed price contracts for clients in the past, they'll still be able to see that, right?
Yes. So the best way to describe it is we're not shifting terribly far from what the current experience looks like. Instead, we've added more ways to kind of flag, these opportunities, these contract to hire opportunities, and to flag that y'all are open to contract to hire opportunities on your profiles. So looking at your profile, everything stays the same. There's just be a little, a little kind of flag on it that says, open to contract to hire opportunities.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of questions about the legalities in specific areas around the world. I just want to reiterate that there are so many variables to that question. We will not be diving into the specific legalities, because what may be true in California may not be true in France. And I don't want to provide any misinformation. And we are not lawyers. Let me just say that emphatically. We are not lawyers. So I would suggest, if you have any specific questions on benefits, on the specific legalities of what employers have to provide or require from you, I strongly suggest you talk to a professional in your own area. That can be either a legal professional or an accounting professional, usually knows this information as well. Perhaps someone in an HR capacity too, if you know someone in that arena. But strongly recommend you find your own answers for your own area, because we don't want to mislead you in any way.
Yeah, totally agree with you there, Will. And even like region to region. Even in the United States, like California versus like Oregon, which is literally right next to it. Totally different labor laws, totally different kind of benefits and challenges and things like that. So, we need to be really careful, A, about the information that we provide you, but B, definitely suggest having a conversation with, a lawyer or an HR professional that you know.
Got it. And circling back to another fee-related question, I just want to be really clear about this, because I think it is so cool that the way it is formatted, it really helps us on the talent side. When you go full-time with a client, do you still have to pay Upwork fees? The answer is no on the freelancer side.
No, that's correct. No on the freelancer side.
And on the client side, it's just the one-time fee. It's not an ongoing, right?
Correct. There is the one-time conversion fee that they would be paying.
And we touched on this earlier, but I think it's an important topic to reiterate. Does taking a contract to hire, a full-time engagement, prevent me or diminish my chances to receive other invites to projects?
No, absolutely not. So I should caveat, if you're working on a short-term, trial contract with another client, or if you say that you're open to contract to hire opportunities, there is no impact to you working on other jobs, right? Like you can work on whatever jobs you want. Once you start working with a client and you feel comfortable, you move to the conversion, or you move through the conversion flow, and the client converts you to a full-time contract. At that point, you need to work out the relationship with your client, whether or not they're okay with you continuing to, work on Upwork. Again, that's just because based on your employment with them. Yeah, but more or less what I'm trying to say is that you can work on whatever jobs you'd like on Upwork. And until that point, when you actually convert off of Upwork, there is no restriction or no exclusivity to you working with whomever you'd like. At that point, when you do convert and you start working with that client, it's really up to yourself and the client to determine whether or not they're okay with you working with other clients on the Upwork platform.
Got it. And quite a few good questions in here. I love having such an engaged audience. Thank you for all these questions, by the way. One of the questions was, when you are in that trial phase before the contract to hire portion, once you engage in that contract and then move to that full-time position, does the client still have the ability to give you a review for that work that you did?
For the short-term contract, yes.
Perfect. Good to know. And then I think this is probably more of a personal preference question, but I think Daniel was asking in the Q&A, does it make more sense to do a few small projects before engaging in the contract to hire with a client, or should you try and get to that point as soon as possible if both parties are interested? I know from my perspective, at least, I would argue, when when you're working with a client, I've found from my experience, within a week or two, I know if I want to keep working with this person or not. Are we vibing? Are we speaking apples to apples kind of thing? So I would suggest that it's probably a personal preference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a personal preference.
Now, a couple clarification questions. One, there's a lot of questions. Is this feature live? Can I play with it now, as soon as I get off this call? Okay.
Yes.
So it's live.
Yes. So it is 100% live. It went live back in February, just over a month ago. So a month and 1 day ago. So it is fully live. You can go into your profile today. You can update your preferences to say that you're open to contract to hire opportunities. You can go into the job feed and you can actually see these contract to hire roles. Again, using the filtering options, there's a little section called job preferences. You would just open that up, select contract to hire, and then that would then filter out all of the non-contract to hire jobs, and you can see all of the contract to hire jobs and start applying as you normally would to the traditional kind of experience.
Perfect. And then some follow-up questions on that. When I get an invitation from a client, is there any sort of icon or statement that says, hey, this may be a contract to hire role? Basically, is it called out? And I know we touched on this briefly, but I wanted to circle back to it.
Yeah, it's not. So I guess the challenge is when a client just like reaches out of the blue and doesn't have a job actually posted, it's a little bit more challenging, right? Because you don't know what their intentions are. So you would need to follow up. However, if they do have a job that they have live and they're inviting you to that job, you'll be able to see on the job that it's a contract to hire role. So it is flagged. Like we do have it clear in the tags that it is contract to hire. Even in the job feed, you'll see underneath, like kind of at the bottom, it'll say on each of the job posts, like if it's a contract to hire job or not.
Got it. Perfect. There's a couple questions here I'm going to answer with some links. Some folks were asking, how best to get started on Upwork, how to get to, people responding to your proposals. These are all brilliant questions, not ones we're going to dive into on this presentation, but I'm going to point you to a resource that anyone who's been on one of these presentations with me before knows I love to plug, and that is Upwork Academy. Upwork Academy is, let me put it in the chat here. Sorry, 1 second. Upwork Academy is a fantastic resource, on-demand learning, different videos of like how to engage with the platform, how to write proposals, how to do your portfolio items, you name it. You want to start an agency, they've got a new agency 101 course. That site, save it. It is so good, so valuable. I'm going to drop another one in the chat here, and this is answering the question of, is this event being recorded? Yes, it absolutely is. It will be available in the coming days on the events page. There is the link. Also, that will also show you what events are coming up and what events have passed that you can watch. A wealth of knowledge. So for those looking to troubleshoot, having difficulty getting the ball rolling, you're not alone. This is a common problem that doesn't matter what industry you're in. Whenever you're new to a place and sort of building your street cred, I like to call it, or as JSS as it's properly called, it takes a little bit of pushing the stone up the hill in the beginning, but there's lots of resources to assist you in that and to shorten the amount of time from getting ramped up. So please do use those. And for those that were dropping questions in the general chat, it was moving a bit too quick. I'm focusing on the Q&A tab, so feel free to drop them in there. We got time for a little bit more here. Let me see. There was a good question here. If a job is posted and it is labeled as contract to hire, does it still cost connects to apply to the beginning portion of it? Obviously, we know that once the contract happens, it's just that, but do I still need to pay connects to apply to the beginning portion?
Yes, to the beginning portion, yes. Yeah. So again, cool. Very similar to the traditional experience that we're all used to today on Upwork.
Got it. And a good question here, and maybe a bit of a teaser on what's coming to come in the following weeks. But are we promoting this with clients as well? Because right now, this meeting here is just freelancers and independent professionals.
Yes. So yes, we are actively promoting this with clients. We're in the process of launching a series of marketing campaigns, all kind of circled around this, promoting, the ability for clients to come to Upwork to hire in a full-time capability.
Definitely. And a good question here from Barbara. In order to engage in this contract to hire a full-time capability, do freelancers need to have the Upwork Plus, the paid version of accounts, or can you have a regular account?
Nope, you can have a regular account. So again, this offering is for literally anyone, anyone on the platform. So it doesn't matter if you're an enterprise client, a small business, if you're a Upwork Plus, if you're not. Every single person on Upwork today has access to be able to utilize these contract to hire, in full-time capabilities across the board. And again, we're really focusing on like, how do we make sure that we provide equal opportunity across the board to every single person, every single user who experiences and utilizes Upwork today. Yeah.
And good call out here for another question from Sophia. Are new freelancers able to use this program? The answer is yes. You don't have to be a veteran on the platform. It's a matter of matching with the client and having the right skills. And I think that's so helpful for a lot of us that are new to the platform, whether you've been lurking for a few years and not really engaging, or if you're just brand new today, showing up for the first time. It's all about matching that talent with the jobs, no matter where you are in the world, right?
Right.
There's a whole bunch of questions coming through here, folks. I'm sorry I'm not able to get to all of them. Some of them are a little bit niche, and then the chat's moving quickly. So if I haven't gotten to any of your specific questions yet, do apologize. Now, Matt, if people have questions once we're done with this event here, and they're looking for more answers on this this feature, where can they go to ask that? I know for one, I can say that they can go on the community forums and start asking questions in there from the community at large. Is there any other place that you would recommend they check out, or a support article or anything like that?
Yeah, so in the Help Center, we have a bunch of articles that we've posted specifically about full-time in the community. Definitely leverage the community. There's some really wonderful people in there who can answer a lot of questions, as well as other community members, who've kind of gone through this experience and know what it's like. And then in addition to that, we actually have a specific full-time landing page, upwork.com/full-time. And that has just a little bit more kind of information. It's also something too that, like, if you need to explain to a client or something like that what it is, you can leverage that link to just send over to them. And it just quickly kind of explains like what is full-time hiring on Upwork. what is that process, like the step-by-step process.
Got it. Cool. And then for those asking if this event is being recorded, yes, it is. I've dropped that link again in the general chat. Highly recommend you bookmark that. Phenomenal resources there. And to answer a question, a couple of people have brought up about questions about spam or scam postings. We've actually done a webinar specifically on this recently with Director of Trust and Safety at Upwork, Caitlin McNerney. And it's a fantastic resource. We're going to be doing this annually, trying to move to more than once a year. But basically that event goes through, here's what the recent scams look like, here's what we do to combat it. And it's a really informative webinar. And it's good to stay up to date on the common techniques which malicious entities use, because no matter what technology and what things we put in place in an internet market, there will be people that get creative and have bad intent. But you'd be amazed at how much of that is filtered out before it ever hits the platform. Truly, you'd be amazed. So check out that webinar. It's at the same link that I just posted. You'll see it. It's maybe month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, but fantastic resource. Always good to stay up to date on different threats in any work environment that you're taking part in. A lot of questions about getting clients on Upwork. Again, I'd revert or refer you to the Academy. I'm going to drop that link one more time because I absolutely love it. And there it is. All right, folks. Okay, so I think at this time we may draw it to a close. I know there's still quite a few questions. As we mentioned, follow-up conversations, go into the community forums. You can post there, get some answers. Matt also told us whether we can find a support article on more information here. But thank you so much, Matt, for joining us and walking us through this fantastic feature. And thank you so much to all of our fantastic attendees to come and spend the time and engage with us in conversation. Keep an eye out for that email in your inbox for feedback. It really helps me figure out how best to support you. So thanks again, Matt. Really appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Will. And thank you everyone on this call. We really hope you enjoy this product.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, everyone. And keep an eye out for next week. We have a pretty engaging webinar coming up on the topic of how Upwork invests in your success. I'm really looking forward to it. So put that on the calendar. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye for now.